Well, let's speak now to former US State Department Senior Policy Advisor for the Middle East Peace Process, Laura Blumenfeld. Laura, thanks for being with us. We're awaiting this farewell address from Joe Biden. Of course, key to that will be this Middle East peace deal, which will form part of his legacy. How important is it to him personally to have got this deal to this point just before he leaves office?
I think it's crucial. I mean, he is a reasonable man in an unreasonable region. He's sort of a consensus gentleman of the Senate. And the question was, could you accomplish anything with that kind of approach in the Middle East? I think it was sort of he needed Trump, honestly, for that final assist. He was the architect of this three-part plan, which he made public at the end of May. He put out the blueprint, but he needed that bulldozer Trump to kind of get it built. Because, Goldilocks doesn't work in Gaza, that kind of just right, not too hot, not too cold. It's a tough area, and he's pretty going to be personally satisfied because it doesn't feel good to leave office, leaving hostages in Gaza. For Trump, I would say it doesn't look good. He's all about appearances, but this is our empathetic president, and I think it's you talk about commitment as one of the keys for achieving anything in the Middle East, and if anything, he was overcommitted. Maybe that was his fault.
Okay. Laura, with me here in studio, I have our two panellists who are always with us for the big occasions. Stephanie Murphy, former Democratic Congresswoman from Florida, and Rodney Davis, former Republican Congressman from Illinois. Thanks to you both for being here again. Just on that point about the Middle East as it forms part of Joe Biden's legacy, what's your view on that, Stephanie?
Well, certainly tonight, I'm sure he's grateful that there is a ceasefire that he can announce as he does talk about his legacy. He really is a president who sees himself as a foreign policy maker and really prides himself in that. And his administration has had mixed results when it's come to foreign policy. So this is a win that will be one that I'm sure he'll highlight tonight in his speech.
Rodney, what do you think? I mean, as Laura mentioned there, and many commentators have said today, this probably couldn't have happened without President-elect Donald Trump and his team on the ground.
It'll be interesting to see if President Biden actually recognizes the Trump efforts and the Trump team efforts during his speech tonight. I was very excited to see his spokesman for national security, John Kirby, talk about how he and Steve Witkoff and Brett McGurk all work together as a team. And I think that bodes well for the American people as we transition into this second Trump presidency, where we're seeing a transition that focuses on America's priorities together.
When Joe Biden made his inaugural address almost 4 years ago now, he spoke about wanting to unify the country. Is this actually what he's managed to do now in working with the Trump team closely on this deal? What do you think, Stephanie?
I think it's a great thing that he worked with the Trump team on this deal, because while they may have been the ones that have been negotiating this deal over the last 14 months or whatnot, it will be the Trump administration that will have to execute it. And in fact, the collaboration between the Trump administration and the Biden administration on this foreign policy issue is almost a refreshing return to the way things used to be, where politics ended at the water's edge and we approached foreign policy issues as a united nation.
Okay, I want to bring in Ravi Agrawal as well. He's editor-in-chief of Foreign Policy magazine, and he is with us here as well. Ravi, how is this playing abroad, this unity between outgoing President Biden and President-elect Donald Trump and their efforts to work together, or at least their teams to work together on this deal?
Sorry, I was muted there. I think it will play quite well. I think for much of the rest of the world, they've been very ready now for several weeks in terms of anticipating what President-elect Donald Trump will do. And so in many senses, they've already started reaching out to his team. And it's only natural that anything to do with foreign policy now, in large part, is in anticipation of Trump and because of Trump. And I think the Biden team understands that well, and they were decent enough to tag team on this one with the next administration. What we shouldn't forget, however, is that in as much as today is a good news day, it is so great to see the hostages who have come back. But spare a thought for those who didn't make it back, both on the Israeli side and also for the immense losses on the Palestinian side. I will point out the United States has lost enormous amounts of soft power globally. Around the world, in country after country, mostly in the global south, there is a sense that the United States has deployed double standards. It has not been a fair arbiter in this conflict. Now, of course, the Biden administration will dispute that. But even senior intelligence officials in the United States have pointed out that anti-American sentiment is as high as it's been in a generation. That is something worth noting and, lives in the backdrop of a day that is largely one of good news.
Laura, I just want to bring you in on that point that Ravi makes there. Do you think that there has been damage caused to US soft power, its place in the world, as to how this conflict has been handled?
Yeah, I mean, two important points that Ravi brought up. First of all, there is a passing of the torch here, but that fire can burn. Biden gets the easy win. Then somebody mentioned he might be going to St. Croix, but Trump is going to have to deal with the humanitarian catastrophe left behind, and also the fact that Israel's probably going to go back to fighting, maybe after 6 weeks, as soon as that. The second point, yes, is Biden has lost credibility, on all sides. The image I've been using for months now, as I spoke here on BBC and elsewhere, is Biden on a tightrope, right? While he tried to support Israel, but also call for humanitarian assistance for Palestinians with no net. But what I saw out in the world, especially on campuses, one of the funniest demonstrations I saw where there were pro-Israeli students demonstrating and pro-Palestinian students demonstrating, and both of them were screaming the same thing, which was F Biden. So, it's maybe there's no winners in the Middle East, but there certainly has a lot of lost credibility for the United States. Biden delivers loyalty. That's his kind of calling card. Trump demands loyalty. So we'll see how that works. America is back was Biden's, slogan. And, we'll see what Trump delivers.
And we know that Joe Biden spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel today.